Do you want to make $10,000 today? Do you want to lose 20 pounds in the next month? Do you want to be well-liked and respected by all your peers? We can't help you with that. You come to the wrong place. But if you do want to earn an hour of CPE credit for listening to this episode, right after you finish, head on over to the Earmark app, take a short 5-question quiz, and you earn 1 hour of CPE just for listening to us. Happy quizzing!
Welcome to Unaccountable, the world's okayest accounting game show podcast for product news, updates, and education. I am your bean-counting banterer of a host, Tyler Otto, and I'm joined by the journal jester himself, Jeremy Van Groll. Hello, sir.
Hello. Man, it has been a week coming out of holiday, so we're recording right after Memorial Day weekend. It seems like everything gets compressed and you're behind on crap, but I am excited about our guest. Oh, man, yeah.
Spoiler alert, we do these recordings sometimes out of order, and we're coming off the high of already interviewing him, so magic spoiled. Sorry, we ruined it for all of you. So, Jeremy, let's hit, the quick updates, because people aren't listening to this episode for us. They're here for him.
No, and we'll talk more about conferences coming up, but you were just at Accounting Today conference, right? How did that go?
I was just at Accounting Today. It was fun. I got to get up on stage. Got told it went well, talked about unicorn hunting, so looking for employees during the current shortage. So it was fun. It was good. And you know what I love about conferences is you go there, you don't know everyone. And then once you get up on stage, then everyone's really easy to talk to and meet after. So it was a wonderful experience. They got a good show. The vendor hall was much bigger than last year. This is my second time going to that show. Got to talk with our guest, Joe, while we were there for a little bit. And meet some cool people, some future guests that also I'm going to surprise you later when you see them on our spreadsheet for future guests. So all around great show. Accounting Today does some cool stuff. And I highly recommend, if y'all are looking for a new show to add, especially one that's not the QuickBooks Zero community that all of us are used to, but it's much more firms that, are a lot more traditional and a lot more private equity that are venturing into our online CAS space. It's a whole different community, but it's fun.
Interesting. And everything, it's on a spreadsheet just like everything should be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll get you there with me next year, and maybe we'll get a speaking spot together.
Ooh, joint session. I love it.
Jeremy, now we're at the exciting part. We have another guest. We're back at guest mode since everything, and we went straight into heavy hitters, really outkicking our coverage here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Joe Woodard, owner, president, founder, chief poobah of the Woodard Institute and Scaling New Heights. Joe, just welcome to the show.
Chief poobah. Well, thank you. It's great to be here. That's a boomer reference if I've ever heard one. I mean, that's what's from Flintstones. But yeah, that's where it came from. Just so you know, in case you're not old enough to know its origins, I was there. Chief poobah.
I was more a Jetsons guy on the tail end of it, but I still love my Flintstone vitamins. So
there you
appreciate
go.
it.
There you go.
Well, Joe, we have so many questions for you. And for the listeners, I don't want to give away what we're about to hit you with in fast figures. But for the people that don't know the history of Joe Woodard, if you had to condense it down to 45 seconds of who is Woodard, who is Scaling New Heights, what should they know about you before you really show that you don't belong here, you're too smart for us?
Well, that one happened. But the short 45-second version is, I was a practicing accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm a non-credentialed CAS professional, though we didn't call ourselves that back in the day. Ran one of those companies for a little over 20 years, and somewhere in the middle of that, morphed into, or broadened into, I should say, training and coaching my peers, some of whom were CPA firms, because we learned how to run a firm like that pretty well. And we also learned a lot of the technical stuff on QuickBooks, but we don't train on that as much anymore as we train on practice strategy. And then eventually the demand for that work on coaching and educating my peers overtook the work I was doing. So I sold the CAS practice, and now I'm 100% focused on coaching and training accounting professionals. Did I make 45 seconds? We're good?
Perfect. I think it was on the dot, within the decimal. Well, Joe, we'll dive further into the questions because we're going to run you through fast figures today. And for those who haven't listened before, we're going to hit you with 10 questions back to back, a minute-ish on the clock, and see how you do. You ready, sir?
A minute per question or 10 seconds per question?
No, I mean, it's a loose minute. I don't even think we've ever timed it.
Okay. All right.
Welcome to Fast Figures. 10 questions, 1 minute-ish. All answers are numbers. The game starts now.
All right, minute on the clock. Here we go. Joe, the IRS defines a fiscal year as how many consecutive accounting periods?
12.
The Greek letter delta occurs as which number place in the Greek alphabet?
It's the 4th.
When it comes to cash basis tax returns, what is the maximum amount of prepaid expenses you should have on the balance sheet?
I have no idea. I'm going to say 42.
I love that's the meaning of life.
Yeah, get the reference. Okay, go ahead.
According to a recent article in the New York Post, the number of total accounting degrees awarded has steadily declined from 2021 to 2023. Within 5%, how much has it declined?
40%.
When it comes to hurricanes, what is the maximum number classification of intensity a hurricane can receive?
5.
How many U.S. states have at least one toll road as of 2025? And I'm going to give you within 10 here, so you got a window.
All right, let's go with 22.
In a standard manual transmission car, how many gears can you shift into?
It depends on the car. My car has 5.
How many lines are in a traditional loan payment journal entry?
2.
In a 2001 blockbuster movie, AI, Artificial Intelligence, how many humans are shown to exist at the end of the film?
0.
Star Trek: The Next Generation starred Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Within 2, how many seasons of The Next Generation were there?
7.
Wow.
Star Trek I can always get right. But I haven't actually prepared a tax return in 15 years. So yeah, I wasn't going to know that answer.
And why would you want to?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and if you don't know, Jeremy does only nonprofit accounting bookkeeping, so he hates taxes as well.
Yeah.
So I'm the lone sadist over here. There we
got
go.
it.
Maybe narcissist too. Let's throw it all
the
in.
jury's out.
Yeah.
All right, let's debrief and jump through these. And first off, we just started with a nice, easy one for you. The IRS defines a fiscal year as how many consecutive accounting periods, and you correctly said 12. We just want a softball to warm you up to fast figures.
I like that. The Picard one was actually the softball, but go ahead.
Even better. The question 2, the Greek letter delta occurs as which number place in the Greek alphabet? And you correctly said 4.
You know that's my major, classical Greek. Did you look it up?
Oh, that's why we're talking about it.
Okay,
You're
I got
jumping
it. All
ahead
right.
of me here. Yeah, we actually do research around here.
Yeah, that's
Who'd have
good.
thought?
That's good.
I mean, yeah, because we were going to go after Delta, and while you and I both live at Delta hubs, Georgia, Salt Lake, that's not where we're going. Delta usually represents a change on financial statements, but also I want to know more about the change for you going from a Greek major to now a powerhouse in the accounting industry. How did that come about?
Do you want that now or after I'm finished grading on the test?
Let's hit it now.
I've never actually shared this end of it before. The ultimate why on a Greek major, I just kind of make fun of myself for having chosen it, and it has no commercial value. That's absolutely right. What happened, I was a double major. I was a single major in religion, and I wanted to go into the ROTC. But the ROTC cannot give you an ROTC college scholarship because of the separation of church and state to study any religious discipline. So I picked up classical Greek as a second major so that it's a language. And even though it's a dead language of no benefit to the United States military, it qualifies as the category of foreign language. And that's how I got my ROTC scholarship.
So then why the pivot to accounting? Like, where did you go
now we
astray?
have even a bigger story. You had religion and Greek. Because
This with politics, and we've hit it all.
I've always been fascinated by ancient religions of all kinds, and I've studied all of them of all kinds. I practiced one of them, but my study was broad. And then Latin, Greek, Hebrew, little Sanskrit. You're going to study those languages if you're studying antiquity. So that all wraps up there. So why the big change? I was going to be a PhD in religious studies and teach at college. That was where I was headed. But life had another course, and I needed to go get a job to finish my graduate degree in theology. And I got a job with a temp agency who put me into a CPA firm. It was supposed to be a 4 day, almost said like a 3-hour tour, like Gilligan's Island. It was supposed to be a 4 day assignment, and they kept extending until finally they came to me and said they've been watching and they wanted to make me an associate in their firm. My reply, I can remember just like it was yesterday, was, I think there's some mistake. I don't know what you people do here. And,
Are you
and
sure?
I didn't. I had no idea. I just moved their files around. And they said something that I understand now for your listeners. There's something applicable here. If you're an employer, really get the wisdom of what this managing partner said. He said to me, we can teach you that stuff, but we like you. Right now, there's a limit to that. There's, you got to have, a learning curve that you can afford, right? And capacity to manage that learning curve. He had those things. So as part of my salary package, which was very small because I didn't know what I was doing, they sent me to the University of New Orleans to study accounting at the graduate level. And the intention was for me to sit for the exam, but then I fell in love with the QAS work, though they didn't call it then back then, because I could actually see business transformations more closely with that work.
Yeah.
And then I became expert in QuickBooks. Intuit called me one day because it got on their radar that I'm a really good QuickBooks teacher. And they gave me a national contract to train accountants, and the rest is history.
I mean, so much insight there too, right? On just the people skills, right? So that's what we have been trying to hire for more than anything. And like, we just hired a CPA coming out of an accountant firm. And did she have transactional QBO experience? No. But I'm like, she knows fundamental accounting and has all of the intangibles. I want to hire her, and she's been working out fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah, you hire first for culture.
Yeah.
Fit, and then,
Amen.
And I don't know if you've read Patrick Lencioni's Ideal Team Player.
Humble, hungry, smart, man.
Absolutely. And you want all three. And just since we can shorthand this, and you already know hungry, humble, smart, as an employer of over 20 years, and now I employ over 20 people. It's not huge, but it's enough to manage. What I've learned is you can make them smarter. You can train people in how to be more people smart. And that's what he means by people smart, right? Smart. You can find what motivates people. If it's not money, find what they're hungry about and give purpose to them. Those two you can coach to. I have never found a way to coach another human being into humility.
Mm-hmm.
I think only life can teach a person humility. And if they don't have it when they join you, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. So hire for humble first, then aptitude on people smart and on hungry.
Gosh, already I just want to buy you a beer and listen for 3
Yeah,
hours.
well, I would love the beer.
Let's keep this party rolling. Question 3. When it comes to cash basis tax returns, what is the maximum amount of prepaid expenses you can have on the balance sheet? The correct answer we're looking for is 0 because you're on cash basis.
Oh, that's true. That was a trick question.
It was, but you gave
I
the
could have
better
gotten
answer
it.
at 42.
That was-
Like, one of the greatest movies in that book, like, that is the best opening line from any book. The ships floated in the air the way that bricks don't.
Ooh,
That is
yeah,
like-
that is a good opening line.
It's, yeah.
Yeah,
Well done,
I
sir.
figured
Hitchhiker's Guide.
I just kind of wait for the nuclear answer. If it's 42, it must be right for every question.
All right, well, then you've just...
So did I
loitered your way
technically
into
get
this.
that one? All right, go ahead.
Yep, there we go.
Yep.
We're giving you half a point. Next up, a recent article in the New York Post said the number of accounting degrees awarded steadily declined from 2021 to 2023. Within 5%, how much has it dipped? You said 40 again, leaving 42 as an option, but no, it was 7%.
Oh, so I was way over. Okay.
You're really getting after the problem, which is the accountant's shortage. And I know everyone's screaming it from the rooftops, but I feel like you've already dipped into this of how can firms adapt during this time of less and less skill in the workforce, and without, entirely rehashing hire for the intangibles and train the rest. Like, what else can these new firm owners or the small firm owners like Jeremy and I do?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say I probably inflated that because I had read numbers closer to 40% on overall workforce decline, but there's a massive retire off. And so, yeah, but just let you know, the problem is bigger than 7%, though I know that number, I trust you, that number is accurate. If you're listening in, it's a double-digit percentage problem.
Wholly agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in the middle of a staffing crisis. So to answer your question, back to the positive culture, it retains. The size firm of a smaller practice, something less than the top, say 300, it doesn't help with recruitment because you're not out doing mass recruitment efforts, competing against your peers head to head like that. but boy, does it make a difference on retention. And it might make a difference on whether a person decides you versus another business opportunity once you get down to final interview, but definitely makes a difference on retention. The other thing I would recommend is what we've already talked about, the aptitude versus the ability, especially if you're a CPA firm listening in here. And Tyler, I covered this in my keynote address at Accounting Today. We have to warm ourselves up. Actually, it was in the panel conversation. We have to warm ourselves up to the non-credentialed worker, CPA firms, and think of yourself more like a hospital where you have maybe differing levels of credential, but not everybody in the hospital needs to be an MD. So not everybody in your firm needs to be a CPA. The third thing I would say is if you've got the capital or you can get the lending power, you might want to merge in or acquire firms, because then you can do it on the merits of the book of business and the revenue modeling, but you get the team they can come with. And you would make that part of the deal, is to put the team under the covenant. And then you get that team lead as a very powerful leader within your firm. And then the fourth thing I would say to tackle it would be to lean in more than ever into automation and artificial intelligence. It does cut the workload significantly. And I guess I have a fifth. If you haven't mastered the art of offboarding, you need to make that work. And if you had a problem with it, there's a bigger chance it was you than it was them. And I know that there are some outsourcing companies out there that don't get the job done right. I'm not trying to say that doesn't exist, but we coach hundreds of firms over here at Woodard. And what we are seeing is it's almost always a problem brought to the outsourcing company by the firm, a lack of process, an inconsistent use of technology, the inability to collect documents from clients, whatever it is, that really you would have if you hired about 3 or 4 people internally as well. You just offboarded or offshored the problem to whatever company that you're using there. So lean into how to do it well and then use it. So 5 ways to tackle the staffing crisis.
That's amazing. Taking notes now. Both our moms listening will absolutely love this as their takeaways. I'm going to switch order of questions because this goes so well into it. You mentioned Accounting Today. You and I were both at last week. How many U.S. states have at least one toll road as of 2025 within 10? You said 2022. The actual answer is 35. So we barely missed that window. Okay. But you had a great story during your keynote about how you perceive the value of the toll road in your local community as you were on the way to the airport. And rather than me attempting to do it justice and butchering it, can I just ask your opinion on how you value that and how that correlates to us accountants? Because it was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard.
Well, thank you for that. So, HOV lanes are really not workable, right? And they're not workable because this is where it comes to the business case. The barrier to entry is far too low. In the state of Georgia, if you're a motorcycle, an electric vehicle, or if you're carpooling now, if you have a 4-year-old in the back seat, suddenly you're carpooling and reducing the number of cars in Atlanta. How are you reducing the number of cars in Atlanta? How does an electric car reduce the number of cars in Atlanta? It just helps with emissions control and the climate. So they've broadened this out to where anybody and their first cousin can get into the HOV lane. So there's no value. So then they created something called the Peach Pass. And the Peach Pass is designed to solve this whole problem. And it does it well 90% of the time, the majority of the time, but it does it through a barrier to entry. And it's a variable barrier to entry. It's one of the best examples of scaled infrastructure-based value pricing I've ever seen. Cameras read how much compression is in the pay-to-play lane and how much compression is outside the pay-to-play lane. Well, it uses both of those as a determinant of value. Actually, I'm sorry. It only uses one of them as a determinant of value. Now, this is going somewhere for everybody listening. So I promise we're getting to your firm quickly here.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. Keep going.
You can probably see where I'm headed, a lot of listeners. The cameras look at how much compression is outside the lane in order to know what the value of the lane is. And it can vary from $2 as a concrete floor all the way up to, I've seen it at $12 or $13 if there's a major wreck in the interstate. It's all a matter of degree of how much faster you get to your destination as a result of the lane. That price is dynamic from the moment you enter. It could change right after you enter, but it's locked in from the moment you enter. Well, the variable price does something else that's really important. So we don't ever think about pricing as the protector of value. Because even if the lanes outside of the express lane are opened and will only say are only about 20% slower than inside the lane, if too many cars get inside the lane, they jack the price up too. Even though there is no time savings value, they'll jack it up to protect the price. Too many people in the lane kills the value for everyone. So if you're listening, then you've got it. You need to think of value as intensely customer centric. What's the value for this driver entering my practice right now? Not the value of the lane, the value of the driver to the driver. Okay. And price to that value. The second thing you need to do is when you start seeing the practice get too full, you need to go up on the price and run some people out of the lane or widen the lane, which would mean hire more people. Yeah. But that's unfortunately our go-to is we keep the price low and then hire more people. I would say start by correcting the price, run a few cars out of the lane, and then if you have another compression problem after you've been aggressive on price, now hire more people. Yeah, because if not, you're just going to get into the gravity well of wanting to take more and more and more to feed all the hungry mouths that you've added to your practice, and that's going to drive price down.
I absolutely love this because I think all of us started our firms when they're small. You know, Jeremy, what, you got like 22 employees now? I'm at 16. Yep. And when
we're
we
all
start,
about the same size in here. We should have that beer.
Yeah. And all that being said, when you start, you take a paycheck from whoever will give it to you. And now those people that started out with me are my lowest paying clients, well below the advertised minimum I have. But they're nice people, they're good, but they're taking up valuable bandwidth that could go to other people. And it's right. If there's so many people in that expressway that it's frustrating for all the other people that paid much higher prices, it's just not worth it. So I absolutely love this analogy. It's probably my favorite thing I took away from accounting today.
Not just your talk. One more thing to tell you how serious you should be about protecting price if you're just getting started here in the room. When I was just getting started with my CAS practice, again, we didn't call it that back then, I had already listened to Ron Baker. I'd already seen what had happened at the CPA firm that had hired me with all of these underpriced accounts. And I swore I would never take anybody just because I was trying to get the practice up off the ground. So my dad owned a painting company. I used to do that in the summers. I was a painter every summer from the time I was 12. It is a trade that I still have today. I painted houses. Rather than taking a client that wasn't willing to pay me what I deserved, I supplemented our family income with painting houses. And I remember there were times I would be covered in paint. I'd come down off the ladder, take a phone call. My cell phone was very expensive back then, but I would take a phone call from a client or prospective client, talk to them about as an accounting professional, and then put the phone down and crawl back up and finish painting the wall because I was never going to let the wrong client in the door.
That's awesome.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Protect all right, let's keep this party rolling.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Okay, next question. When it comes to hurricanes, what is the maximum number classification of intensity a hurricane can receive? You correctly said 5, and we often hear the importance of being able to weather the storm. You know, starting a firm and running a successful business requires being able to take the hits and the setbacks and the disasters. As someone who has coached hundreds of firm owners, what strategies or skills have you seen successful firm owners use to be resilient and weather that storm?
Okay, yeah, that's a loaded question because that's a very human question. There are business levers that you can pull, but at the end of the day, there are two. There are two that I will give you. One is I've seen people who have a faith structure. I've seen people lean on that faith structure very heavily, and I would credit that, and I think they would credit that with giving them, a light through a dark path. So, but for those that don't practice a faith, we still coach toward tapping into a higher principle. So this is all still the category A. The higher principle, when everything around you can't be seen, and sometimes the only direction that works is up in order to find meaning, to find hope, right? So in the absence of faith, we go with higher principle, not higher power. And that principle give them meaning and guidance. The second thing that we do is vision, mission, and purpose. And I didn't have time to talk about this much at accounting today, but I'll be talking about it Scaling New Heights coming up here very soon. Vision, mission, and purpose, as taught to me by the Disney Institute, are not synonyms of each other. They're distinct and synergistic. Mission is how you do what you're doing, and purpose is what. So vision, why, mission, how, and purpose, what. At Woodard, our vision is we enrich business through business advisors. That's why we do what we do. And it's intensely personal. We personalize it. Every single person in the company finishes the sentence with "so that," fill in the blank. So everyone who works for Woodard buys into the vision and fills the blank in on "so that." My "so that" has to do with families being able to focus more on their families and not have the business constantly intruding upon that, because I was the child of a business owner. So it became intensely purposeful for me to help children and spouses and everybody impacted by stressed business owners to have their spouse, their father back, or their mother back. And it gets me out of bed in the morning. You know, I think I'm going to actually, through these business advisors, I'm going to create more meaningful moments with families. But other people had other things they placed into the "so that," and some of them were intensely personal, and they shared their backstory for that. So once the business owner has done that, and they have not just a what I'm doing, but a why I need to get back on my feet, you know, why I need to rebound, it's the most powerful question in the universe is why. And then the how and the what serve it. So we want to unpack that right now. But this is where I'll tie it all together. Why is found at the intersection of three things: who you are as a person, the change you want to see in the world, and the higher principle you follow. So once we've helped them to determine their higher principle, we take a look at the change they want to see in the world and who they are as a person. And we lean into that. We say, this is a battle worth fighting for to get this business back on the rails. Now, practically speaking, it gets rougher. And it's usually a combination of letting very, very valuable employees go, sometimes friends and family member, purging clients down to the bare minimum. We've had to do both of those simultaneously, one or the other of them. It's a punt maneuver. Punts are never fun. So when we come alongside the firm in that position, we're just there basically to reassure them, you have no other choice, and we're going to make this choice as risk-free as possible. So if you're listening, I would say don't try to rebound without a mentor, and don't try to rebound without purpose. You won't be able to sustain the energy necessary, because it takes a lot of energy. And this is from a business owner who's been way back on his heels in the past. And the only thing that kept me in the business model I'm in, when I could have gone and opened a Chick-fil-A franchise or whatever and made money, the only thing that kept me in what I'm in is the change I knew I wanted to see in the world. It was worth fighting for.
Wow.
And
I mean,
hit the culture internally with your own organization out of the park there, right? Like you just have that sentence, and so that like just internalizes it and makes it so personal for them too. That's awesome.
Yeah. We all have to align on the purpose. Don't work for Woodard if you don't want to enrich a business through a business advisor.
Yeah.
But we can have 22 different "so that's." It's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah.
I love that you also, talked about the why and really the meaning of life. And that goes back to your answer 42 earlier. Just fantastic work bringing it all around. So to keep this going, Joe, I'm going to merge two of our next questions together. But the next one that was up was, in 2001 blockbuster movie AI, Artificial Intelligence, how many humans are shown to exist at the end of the film? You correctly said 0. And not that I want to draw, attention to the fact that in the movie there was a bot that could categorize transactions at the end of the apocalypse. I also want to merge this real quick, because the AI also leans into the other question I wanted to ask, which is how many gears are in a manual transmission. I love that you said as present tense, you still have a manual. I respect the heck out of that.
Yeah. Wait, what are we driving? I got to hear this. What's your manual you're driving?
It's a Porsche 718.
Nice.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, we were looking for 5 or 6, if you can count reverse. And ultimately, AI feeds into this. But I wanted to ask about you. You said earlier you started on that CPA path, and then you shifted as well into the tech consulting side and got out of just the traditional CPA path. What ultimately wanted to take you down that road, and what do you see coming down the road in the future with AI?
I alluded to it earlier that what took me down the path was the direct transformation I could have in these business owners. Because before I wanted to enrich them through business advisors, I was an enricher of them. And I saw more transformative power in the tech and also in the CAS, because CAS is bigger than tech, right? So in all the controllership that I was able to do, all the journey protection elements, risk mitigation, regulatory compliance, managerial compliance, all of those things I was able to bring into a business as protector of their journey was transformative. Then I deployed tech that was transformative. We got into warehouse transformation and dealt with several different inventory systems. And that was even more rewarding because now I'm scaling that transformation, very complex projects. So that's answer A. I wanted to have a transformative impact on clients. Now, that didn't stop me. I still said at Accounting Today, one of my biggest regrets is never sitting for the exam, because it would be easier for me to tell my fellow CPAs, if I was a CPA, that they need to be transformative, right? Because they do. But nonetheless, that's the reason A. Reason B was because I absolutely fell in love with QuickBooks Desktop. You have to remember I'm older, so my journey started in 1995. It was QuickBooks Desktop was a revolutionary piece of software, highly innovative, unbelievably priced. It was like you have ERP systems. It was an SMB RP system for a couple $100 at Costco, and it changed the world. And so that was an easy stream for me to be in, to change the businesses one at a time through that power of that product. And then everything I did after that point integrated with it. The inventory systems would tie back, or the job costing systems would tie back, but it all centered around QuickBooks.
Then going forward, bringing in that AI piece, because that's the buzzword on every podcast, every conference, every news article.
Oh, yeah.
But for the firms that are just trying to figure out, we don't have time to try out every new bot, every new software, everything else. Like, what is the game plan for, I guess, how should firms just tackle it within 2025, maybe in 2026? What are the easy wins? As you said, we're facing this accounting shortage. What are the easy wins they can be looking for right now?
I'm going to give you 3 across the major streams of CPA. CAS, focus on AI to facilitate month-end close. There's a whole category of that kind of technology specifically that you can go explore. If you can only pick one, pick that. For tax, assimilation of the balance sheet and the placement of that into the corporate tax software, that's present. It's reality. It'll prepare about 95% of a corporate tax return for you. As long as the trial balance is clean, it'll get you 95% there, depending on the complexity of your return and the solution you choose. And it's AI-driven software. You don't code it. In either of those 2 categories, you subscribe to someone who has coded it. And then for the auditors, there are solutions that deal with the sampling side of audit, which is the heaviest labor lift. They will increase the size of your sampling pools so that the sets that you sample are larger and therefore your audit is tighter. And they will do it with a fraction of the human effort that you're exerting today. So those are 3 areas where you can just jump right in with both feet into the AI world. But in every one of them, you're subscribing, you're not coding. Only if you're a top 50 size firm, maybe a top 20 size firm in here, would I recommend hiring a bunch of coders. Mostly that's the purview of the top 10. You let other people do that coding for you, as we always have.
That's wonderful. Because, everyone's trying to throw all the things we should be doing. I love breaking it down into simple bites for us. 2 more questions then, Joe. One of them, I just wanted to give Earmark an easy way to do CPE questions for us. So how many lines are in a traditional loan payment journal entry? You said 2. I was looking for 3, because usually we hit, the payment method, bank account,
I forgot about
interest and principal. So I was looking for 3, but hey.
I was still trying to imagine different amortization schedules on simple and compound interest over 12. I was over complicating.
Yeah.
So
you were doing quantum physics and we were doing 2 + 2.
Yeah, right.
You're too smart for your own good. Last question. Star Trek: The Next Generation starred Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Within 2, how many seasons were there of The Next Generation? You didn't even need that little window of 2. You were solid on a 7. And Captain Picard with Make It So, his tagline, also the tagline of this year's Scaling New Heights conference. What can we expect to learn with that tagline, Make It So, and this upcoming conference here in a few weeks?
Yep. So we do train on tax. We train on QuickBooks at the show. We have people that come in and do that. We train on Xero and other accounting platforms. So you will get software training. The story arc, which a lot of the breakouts will follow and all the main stage will follow, has to do with actually just getting it done. And we couldn't call the show Get Things Done because our guest presenter wrote that book. He's coming in on Tuesday, David Allen, Getting Things Done. So we called it Make It So, but that's really, or just do it is what Nike would say. But we're not just going to have a motivational speaker come and make you feel like doing it until you get off the plane at your destination and you're tired again and don't do it anymore. We're going to give you actual tools. Those tools will focus on the methodology to scale the outcomes that you actually act on. And then the other tools that we will give you are going to be focused on removing the frictions that stand and the barriers that stand between you and actually making things so. Sometimes those barriers are relational, sometimes they're psychological, sometimes they're financial. But the whole theme of this is to become, as Stephen Covey would say, to become the creator. If you've read the 7 Habits recently, habit 1 is to be the creator. That's the outcome of it, to begin with the end in mind. And then habit 2, put things first, you make your first creation. So if you can just leave scaling new heights, envisioning the end, so you can begin with the end in mind, and prioritizing what you're going to do over the coming year, you've already become the creator and you've already created your first creation, according to Stephen Covey. And we can do that in 4 days.
Gosh, I'm excited. Jeremy and I are bunking up there. So, yeah, we probably won't be able to find you for a beer because you're going to be running hundreds of people, but looking forward to all the talks, sir. Look, if you're an accountant or bookkeeper and you have a workflow solution that involves hundreds of spreadsheets, endless client follow-ups, and feels like a tech stack made out of Jenga pieces at a 4-year-old's birthday party, then you are going to love Keeper. Keeper is the ultimate month-end close tool for us. It integrates seamlessly with QuickBooks Online and Xero, giving you that two-way sync that eliminates any sort of manual updates and redundant clicks. With Keeper, you can do everything from automating month-end tasks, streamline client communication, breezing through document requests, doing receipt capture management, 1099 season W-9 requests. You can do it all in one place. And now they have 2 new rad features they've rolled out. First up, the Tax Suite, an all-in-one tax flow workflow solution that helps you prep returns faster, securely request client info, and track those pesky KBA signatures. But they also have Keeper Emails, a fully integrated inbox where client communication immediately transforms into actionable insights. Join the thousands of accountants that are across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom already trusting Keeper to reclaim their time and sanity. When you sign up, please use the code UNPOD to get 20% off your first 3 months and to let them know that someone is listening to our podcast. Now on to the show. And with that sound, it is halftime, which we're just going to keep this rolling, but this is the part of the show where we head over to the sidelines and get a nice little bite out of an app snack. And while it's not quite an app, Joe, I want you to also everyone's been wowed listening so far of just your wealth of knowledge. Now, how do we get in the program, right? How do we get our fix of Woodard knowledge regularly going forward? Talk to us about the Woodard program. I mean, how exactly do I call it? Because it was Woodard Institute at one time, or Woodard Membership Program, or what?
Yeah, we used to call it Woodard Institute, but we backed off of that because it seemed more like education, and it's not. It's about change. It's about enacting change in your practice. It's about practice advancement is the way we frame it. It's also about services expansion. And Institute just felt like you're going back to college. It also felt like it's something you should eventually graduate from and then look in the rearview mirror on. And we believe that change is perpetual. So we just call it the Woodard. You're just a member of Woodard, right? And when you're a member of Woodard, you can either be community only, which is our most affordable entry point, or you can be one of the membership levels where you receive direction, where you receive education and courseware about enacting specific changes, whether it's pricing, technology, process, team, etc. Now, the question would just be in the other levels of membership, are you wanting to do it self-determined? Well, that would be our select level. Are you wanting to do it in a group coached environment? That would be our advantage level. Or do you want a dedicated coach that you meet with either weekly or every other week? that would be our premium level. And if you were to liken it to aerobics, then select would be the aerobics stream. I used to say the aerobics tape or DVD, but that would date me. It's the aerobics channel that you just do in your living room, or the aerobics app you do in your living room. And then group aerobics would be our advantage level. And having a private aerobics instructor come to your home or meet you at the gym would be our premium level.
At what point do we get Richard Simmons or someone's dressed up as them? Like, is that the super
No,
plus?
Richard's no longer with us. Big loss to humanity. I love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the idea is maybe just look at us like we're carrying the mantle for Richard.
I love it. So if people wanted to learn more, subscribe, get institutionalized, kidding, sorry, we're not using that word, but how do they find this? How do they get into the University of Woodard?
All right. So it's just woodard.com, mylastname.com. And they would click on the prominent link there at the top that just says membership. And they can explore from there. There's a link there right on the membership page where you can schedule a meeting, a free meeting with a practice expert. And she will walk you through all the options and even talk to you a little bit about the state of your practice, all for free.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Joe, it's been wonderful having you. I want to scaling new heights, Joe Woodard, the speaker, what else should people know? Freestyle, open mic, Jeremy will drop a beat if you want. What should we know?
It's the people. It's the people in the hallways. I have the honor of hosting the most amazing group of people every year. Everybody comes to me and they say, well, how did you draw these people? What did you do? How did you create this audience? I didn't create that audience. At one time, I was of them. I was their peer. They're just an amazing group of people. About 80% of them carry no credentials, and 100% of them live transformative lives with their clients. They're excited. They're friendly. We have hotel venues tell us this feels more like a massive family reunion than it does a conference, especially an accounting conference. Because look, if you're a germaphobe, that's fine. You can just, go put your fist out and fist bump people and they'll get the message. But all around you, there'll be neck hugging, there'll be long handshaking, that just people really enjoying being with each other. And each year there are a couple hundred brand new people and they just fold right in. So if you would be brand new to the conference this year, don't think it's a club you have to work your way into the inner circle. It's a club that sort of like the second you step there, they just embrace you. So, and if you don't put out your fist they'll do it physically, embrace you. So so it's a warm group. It's a great group.
Jeremy, anything else I missed?
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I will be a first-time attendee this time. I have not been able to be there, but super looking forward to it. I think the agenda just dropped today. That I thought somebody
in the app. We've had it on the website for a little while.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you're on the fence at all, please check it out because I will not fist bump. I will hug and neck hug and all the other things there. So I'm super excited to be there. If we are first timer, any advice? Hey, just dive in.
Yeah, we'll come to the first time attendee orientation. Don't miss it because it's more than just learning about the show. We put you at round tables where there's a table captain. The table captain can't be a table captain unless they've come 5 out of the last 7 years. They will tell you everything you need to know about navigating the experience, and then they will connect with you in the app. So throughout the entire 4 days, they're there to assist you. And that's a 1-to-9 ratio. So every 9 new attendees has one expert mentor to help them make the most of the experience.
Oh, that's huge. What a way to ease the tension right away is here's your buddy. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, June 22nd through 25th, head over to woodard.com if you want more details. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we don't get blacklisted immediately for a second interview in the years to come, but it's been truly our pleasure having you.
It has been a blast. I've had more fun on this podcast recording than I have on the last several few. So yes, I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Wow, that was awesome. I hope everybody sticks around for just us. We got a little bit left here. So, Tyler, have you ever heard of Better Business Advice? Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of Better Business Bureau.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of BBA.
I've never heard of BBA either. Well, they just announced their best cheap accounting software for 2025. Any idea what that could be?
Cheap? I mean, this is the eye of the beholder, right? So, there's a tier of FreshBooks and Wave. There's a tier of Xero and QuickBooks, and then there's a tier of like Sage, NetSuite. I'm going to go Wave.
Nope, it wasn't Wave. It was QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So, and just an FYI, if you're not a QuickBooks user, they do have a promotion right now, which they always have promotions, right?
Yeah.
But for the first 3 months, you can usually get 50% off. What amount can you get off of QuickBooks right now through June 30th?
Dare I say 100%?
90%. They're still going to take some of your money. But I bring this up because this came across my newsfeed recently. But also, I know you got this email, and we all did. Funny timing that they have this entity that I've never heard about, call them the best cheap software ever or of the year, and then also announced price increases the same day I think this was published. So I feel like there's a PR stunt here, but we're here. What can we do?
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, folks, don't get surprised. Like there's death taxes and Intuit's price increases. Like so their fiscal year starts on August 1st. So surprise, surprise, end of July, they're putting their new price in place. This is going to happen to us every year. Intuit will never stop increasing prices. Every July, you're going to see this, and then everyone's going to be angry. They're going to be like, I'm going to Xero, and then they're all going to be surprised in November when Xero increased their prices. And like, this is just what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So I know you got this email, and you probably even looked at the amount, so I had to get creative with the questioning. But so 4 levels of QBO, right? Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, Advanced.
And then like Ledger's still floating around there somewhere.
Yeah, and then Enterprise. Okay. Let's dial this in. So out of all that, what was the average percent increase on all of them? If you I took the percent increase for each one, those 4 numbers, and averaged them.
Did you do math?
There was some mathing. Yes.
Wow. Jeremy, dare I say it was a 30% increase?
No, it was 13%. So 8% at the lowest, almost 15 at the highest. So to average them all together was about 13.
Pretty sure I said 13.
You
just
not.
Misheard me.
Yes. But that's not, like, again, you can do it because it's one subscription, but still a 13% increase in software costs that's vital to most of our businesses and listeners.
Yep.
That's not a easy pill to swallow often. So it's a lot.
It's a pass-through cost at my firm. I tell my clients, hey, we're just going to bill you the cost because I don't want to be on the hook for if any of these increase. So I'm sending the letter, hey, greedy monster that's Intuit has increased prices as a reference, comparable software, Sage and other ones. Here's what they're going to charge. So y'all are going to have to deal with it and move on with life. Like that's just unfortunate, but they're going to keep doing this, especially, they bought that HR firm recently. They got to pay off that debt now.
Yeah, right. You got to pay that off. And then just heads up, if you didn't get this, also like online payroll, all going up a little bit, whether in the employee charge or the monthly fee. The desktop versions that still exist and being supported are going to go up too. So you're going to be shelling a little more out of your wallet.
Oh, desktop went up like crazy. I mean, I should, because I don't have any desktop clients. They didn't send me the email, but I saw some people posting online. It was... that's why I was thinking 30-40% because it was something substantial. We really should do research and know these things ahead of time. But
I mean, it's I got it here. It's like $500 to $800 per year for some of these, and like I hold the desktop license just so I can easily do conversions if they have it, right? Which I should just use their website, but here I am. So
website works great.
Yeah, it's a lot. So you had some other QuickBooks or Intuit related news, right?
Well, did you? Okay, Jeremy. Historically, how much has it cost to connect your app to QuickBooks' API?
I believe that is a free $99.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
And what price will it not be starting this summer?
Oh, free $99?
Correct.
No.
They are releasing. So, of course, they never just release it as, hey, guys, we're increasing prices. We're starting to put a cost on connecting to our API. Instead, they said we are releasing our app partner program, where here's what we're going to do for you and why it's great to be part of our strategic partnership. You have to go to developer.intuit.com and look at the FAQs on the partner program to see it. But essentially what's going down is that all these apps we know and love, right? Like our quality controls, Financial Sense and Keeper and Zenit and Liscio or whatever else. And then you got, your tax domes, your carbons, your canopies, Tax Planner Pro, all this stuff, Relay, Bill Pay, Bill.com. All of them use the API to push and pull data. Now, Blake Oliver and David Leary did a much better, longer segment for this a week ago. I highly recommend you go listen to their podcast about this. They had Hector Garcia on to talk about it. It was amazing. But ultimately, it's now going to cost these app developers to be able to pull data from QuickBooks via the API. Now, QuickBooks still says, hey, it's free to push data, but it's going to cost you to pull. Now, unfortunately, I love Blake and David went into this because before you push data, you actually need to pull data to validate that things haven't changed and that the information is right. So no one's going to be able to push for free if they want to actually do a good job, bill, pay softwares or anything else. They're going to have to pay. And there's a difference because for those of you who don't know, like I love Reach software for reporting, and they pull summary reports when they give you P&Ls and other things. They pull a report package and they're able to give you that data. Well, that's one report pull. Versus if you pull every single transaction, each transaction is a pull that costs. Jeremy, what software am I madly in love with that pulls every transaction?
I believe that would be Keeper.
So how does Keeper survive this? How does Uncat survive this? How does LiveFlow? How does Data Rails? How does all these softwares that pull transaction survive this without increasing their prices? I do not know. And I love the analogy that people have brought up that this is a tariff because Intuit's not going to make mad money on this. What they're doing is they're making it more expensive for all their competitors on payroll, on bill pay, on quality control, on task flow management. Everything is going to become more expensive for their competitors. And Intuit's going to say, why pay for those softwares that are so expensive when you could just use us? They're protecting their own internal development and making it more expensive for competitors. I have thoughts, opinions, and beliefs here.
I think that comparison is very valid because even you talk about like the general thing of tariffs, which is a huge buzz right now, right? And even the president said, I expect the companies to eat that. And they can't eat it. The keepers of that, like, they're not rolling in the dough, right? And just like Walmart told them, like, hey, we can't keep that. You can't think anybody's that's a stockholder or a board member said, yes, we're going to just let our margins go down because of this and not pass it through. There's no way that's happening.
Yeah, I talked to a rep at Accounting Today about this, and they're just like, why is it your problem? And I'm like, because Keeper and all these other ones, like, they have to make costs. They're going to have to pass it on to us. And they're like, and you just pass it on to the client. And it's like, I represent the client. That's why I'm frustrated because you're going to make it look like the external softwares increase their prices. They didn't. And by the way, now anyone that uses other software than QuickBooks, it just got more expensive. Meanwhile, QuickBooks Live Bookkeeping, they use all the internal stuff. So none of their costs are going to go up. Yeah. So it's also like the internal competition that they have to my services, I feel like is also getting a leg up.
Plus, we're trying to sell value to clients, so you can't pass along a price increase saying all the tools I use made my thing go up. And they're like, I don't care what tools you use. Like, give me the right information efficiently. And
yeah, they're like, use cheaper tools then. Like, that's not my problem. That's yours to figure out. And I don't know. So unfortunately, it's the name of the game. I wouldn't have any complaints if it was just they increased their prices on the subscription, but now they're increasing the prices for us on the back end as well.
Yeah.
All right, rant over.
All right, that brings us to our winner of the week. And if you haven't heard, there was this big, beautiful bill that passed through the House recently. So we each took a look at this, and I picked a potential winner. And I believe that, Tyler, you have a loser. My winner, this part is, I'm going to say babies. Did you hear this part of it? That there's entirely new incentives that $1,000 baby bonus is going to get paid out by the government for children born over the next 4 years, which of course is going to be called Trump accounts. But they're going to get set up and get $1,000 from the government. Then they encourage other people to contribute to it. What I'm wondering is, like, who is holding these accounts and how and where and how is the administration going to leverage that? But I guess $3,000, I don't know. Well, I guess I'll take that as a win.
Covers, a sixth of the medical bill to have that kid.
Yeah, right.
And for loser of the week, Jeremy, dare I take this one? There was an article put out in the last 24 hours on Accounting Today but it's headlined, or sorry, last week, my apologies. The AICPA protests tax deduction changes for accounting firms. Apparently, in this big, beautiful bill, there is now a provision that specified service trades or business, SSTBs, such as accountants, doctors, lawyers, dentists, veterinarians, will no longer get the pass-through SALT deduction, state and local taxes. So this is going to benefit the C Corps, but take away that tax deduction for every accounting firm out there. Jeremy, we're the losers. If this goes through, like, AICPA is urging you to reach out to your representatives and be like, dude, WTF. And that's exact phrasing they want you to use, is dude, WTF. But this one could hurt, man.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still trying to get over the first acronym because it sounded like you said STDs there for a second. I was like, wait, there's something. No, where I'll go there. Yeah, that's all. Like that, and to have it only impact non-C corps, how does that make any sense, right? Like, we wanted to impact smaller businesses, not larger ones. I don't know. It's
going to be a little bit brutal. You and I will cover this bill once it becomes more finalized, because there's a whole lot of changes coming. So fret not, listener or listeners, two of you today, but we'll cover that more in the future. Beyond that, Jeremy, we've already hit a long episode. Dare I say we retire, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks, sir.
Sounds fantastic.
Let's be honest, most of us didn't become bookkeepers or accountants to spend hours learning marketing systems and chasing leads. Heck, some of us became accountants because we didn't want to talk to people. We did it also to serve clients and build businesses we love. But what if you could get better clients without the marketing overwhelm? Well, that's exactly what Keepful does. It's an all-in-one marketing system built specifically for bookkeepers and accountants. And it works 24/7 behind the scenes to bring in leads, book consultations, and automate follow-ups. You get a professional website, branded consultation page, and follow-up automations all tailored to your business. No more duct taping tools together or hiring expensive marketing teams. If you want to grow your firm with ease and attract better clients without doing more work, go check out Keepful today at keepful.com or follow the link in the show notes to give us a little bit of extra credit with the folks over at Keepful. Now, back to the show.